all the muscles of the lower legs, they have this network of veins. And when you're walking and contracting these muscles, what they're doing is actually squeezing these veins. And because you have these valves and you have this increased pressure, it's like that bottle, right? You squeeze that bottle, it's going to increase pressure. The blood is going, liquid inside is going to shoot up in the direction that you have an opening. And the openings are where you have these valves. So every time you take a step and contract these calf muscles, it actually helps to circulate blood throughout your body. Now, in the before times, this is what some of us used to do, right? We used to travel and no masks here, but why should you get up and move around during a long flight? I don't know if you can still do that these days, but before it was recommended to do that. And why is that? Well, this is why. You want to move around during long flights to prevent blood clots. So what the study showed is that there's increased risk of forming a blood clot during long flights. So their definition of a long flight was a flight that's longer than 4 hours, which is pretty much all flights leading to and from Hawaii, right? And what they saw is that people who they faced increased risk of forming a blood clot. And the thing is that when you have blood being not really circulating, if you have pure circulation in the area, that increases the chance of a blood clot forming in that area. So if you increase your circulation, that helps to break up any potential clots that might form, and thereby preventing these clots from forming and maybe forming an embolism that blocks something maybe in your heart or in your brain. So this is why it's important to prevent these blood clots during these flights. And one such example of this is a deep vein thrombosis, or DVT. So again, a thrombus is a blood clot, but the thing is that a thrombosis is different because it's an obstructive internal blood clot. So compared to those blood clots that you get when you cut yourself and then the blood clots from that cut, a thrombosis is a clot that forms on the inside of your body. Now, the legs are a common site of DVT, and this is interesting because you actually have a lot of volume of blood relatively in this area, but also because, like, again, if you're sitting down for extended periods of time and you're not circulating this blood, that's more time and more conditions that are more favorable to forming a clot. Now, so that's why sitting still is increasing your risk of DVT, and it'll be interesting to see if, like, in retrospect, if especially during lockdown when a lot of us weren't getting out of the house, if sitting still somehow had a negative increase people's risk of DVTs. Again, embolism, if they have a thrombosis forming and it ends up traveling and blocking a vessel, it can result in an embolism. And an embolism is a blocking of a vessel by an object, such as a blood clot, or even things like air bubbles. So this is why, like, if you've been to a hospital and they say, like, well, make sure there's no bubbles in the IV line. Well, you don't want something, that bubble actually blocking the being trapped inside a blood vessel, and thereby trapping any blood behind it and preventing it from actually reaching its target tissue. Now, if you've been to a hospital and been to an ICU or a cardiac ward, you may have seen this. So this is our intermittent pneumatic compression. And it looks like these little stockings, and they have these air bladders that surround the calves, and this machine that cycles and pumps air in and deflates these little bladders inside these, like, leggings right here. And what they do, when you inflate these with air, they're going to increase pressure surrounding the calf, and it's going to squeeze those veins and force blood. So this is also why your calves are sometimes called your second heart. By actually flexing the muscles, or in this case, you're doing it artificially by using this IPC, you're applying pressure to these veins, and then by circulating this blood and increasing the return of this blood to your heart and the rest of your body. So yeah, that's why your calf muscles are sometimes called the second heart. But why? Because you also want to circulate things and also want to prevent clots as well. What we saw in that previous picture is that that person was bedridden, so that's why you might want to keep, if someone can't walk, maybe you want to do IPC to prevent these DVTs and these clots from forming, Because if they can't get out of bed, how are they going to flex their calf muscles? Maybe you have to do it artificially using a machine.